Hey people, welcome to the channel, The Modern Survivalist, and in this case talking about preparation for power outages, blackouts, when you have no electricity. I just went through one recently. Yeah, it was fun. Well, maybe not so much fun. I mean, it's something that we are prepared for, but still there's always lessons to be learned, so I'll share that with you folks. As always, if you want to learn more about preparedness, survival, you have the channel with a ton of information. You have my books, by the way, over there, Surviving the Economic Collapse, 3 Survival Skills. You also have the French, Spanish version, some of the best-selling books in survival and preparedness over the years. Thank you for your support. So in this case, I want to talk about not just your flashlights, headlamps, and whatnot, but these devices, these solar generators or battery banks, whatever you want to call them. They are quite useful. Look, I had one of my neighbors. He was running a gasoline generator, super loud. Everyone knew he had one. Now, on the other hand, these things, they're quite nice. There's a couple things you need to know about these battery banks or solar generators, whatever you prefer to call them. You're looking at two numbers that are very important here. First one is the wattage of the device you're talking about. This can be from 200 watts. I mean, that one over there, 200 watts, 600 watts, and it's 1800 watts, the big guy over there. This is the wattage of what it can operate, right? So let's say you have a lamp. A lamp with a little LED that uses 8 watts, well, you turn that on, that's going to be 8 watts. Your 200 watt device is going to be just fine. What about a drill? Well, your drill will probably say like 200, 500 even watts, but keep in mind that there's a surge the moment in which you turn that thing on. So this surge may be double or triple that number, so it may be 1500 watts that you need. So definitely not that guy. This one with 600 is going to be struggling. That one over there is going to probably do just fine. I've actually tested with a powerful drill, does okay. I did use one of these coffee machines with the little capsule things. Those things are super demanding. They have a surge of 1800 give or take. That thing run, but these, no way. I mean, that one I didn't even try, but that one I was surprised. No, the coffee machine, no, because of that peak. If you have, let's say, a fridge can be anywhere from 80 watts to 100 watts, but the moment in which the motor starts running, it may be double, triple that. Again, something to keep in mind. You basically want to go for the smaller devices with a smaller gadget, and bigger things will require something like that. I will leave links for all of these things below in the description of the video, as I always do, along with my books and stuff like that. Does not change your price one bit at all. Just helps the channel, so much appreciated if you buy from there. So in this case, again, let's not lose track. So the first thing is the wattage of the device. The second thing you have to keep in mind is how much actual power do I have stored in it, and this is going to be watt hours. So for example, that one over there has 288 watt hours. That one over there, the exact same thing. So this is the EcoFlow, right? Which is a little bit bigger. And by the way, before I forget, those who are sent for reviewing, this one I bought with my own money back in the day, really does not affect my opinion one bit. I'll just tell you how it is. In fact, I've had a little bit of worse experience with the EcoFlow. It was a lot more expensive back in the day when I bought it, and this time that I used it, it jumped. It said it had like 45-50% charge still, and all of a sudden it died. And when I started charging, it was in zero. So whatever system it has telling me the amount of power that it goes on really it failed, at least for that. So a little bit disappointed. That little guy, I use it for my router. So I have fiber for internet, which is great, super fast, right? And as long as you have power, fiber works. It's literally fiber optic. So on my end, if there's no power, it won't work. But if I have electricity on my end and I power the router, it does work very well. And one of the things that sometimes we complain about in terms of the green stuff, and there's a lot of corruption and bullshit with that, the efficient gadgets and low consumption. I will say that I recently had my router changed for a newer one that is a little bit more powerful and consumes almost half as much. I was surprised when I connected that thing and it told me that I had almost 12 hours to go on a full charge. That is That is nice. And it's all because the device itself consumes less. If it consumes less, I will be able to run it more. So keep that in mind whenever you're buying anything. It's not just about, oh, but I don't care about the price, blah, blah, blah. If the device you're using consumes less, whatever you have, and it may be gasoline that you're running, but it's going to run more. It's going to be more efficient, the better the design is of whatever you're talking about. So 288 watt hours, and this big guy over here, that is 1152 watt hours. That thing will run a very long time. Now these, you probably want to combine them, not probably, I will say, you definitely want to combine them with a solar panel. Over there in the back, all powers, that's a folding solar panel, 200 watts. This is an older panel that I bought and still runs very well. That's 70 watts. So it's a little bit big, but oldie but goodie, still runs fine. Now, maximum, I was running this thing with that panel connected at the same time, and it was running a freezer and my PC. To be honest, I should be running a laptop, but I had my desktop running on it. And with this thing connected with a solar panel, I was not getting 200 watts. I was getting about 140-ish. And it was kind of like level in terms of the input that I was getting with the solar panel, running it through this thing, and what I was consuming. Every once in a while, I would get a little bit of a peak and barely. And after a couple hours, it was charging like 50% to 51%. I mean, it's not as if you're gonna run this thing, charge it, and run devices at the same time, no. But it will reduce the amount of power that it consumes from the battery if you have the panel connected. And when you're not running the device, it starts accumulating the energy and charging those batteries. It is a pretty sweet setup. I really like these things a lot more than a gasoline or diesel generator, especially the smaller ones. Now, I will say, if you have a gasoline generator, as always, a good Honda, right? Those things, as long as you keep on throwing fuel in it, it continues running. You don't have to worry about the power management aspect of, if I run out of this. But on the other hand, if you run out of fuel, if you go all Mad Max scenario, whatever goes on, this thing will continue running for years, as long as you have the panel working correctly. And sure, it's gonna cycle a few times, nothing lasts forever, but in terms of long-term disaster, the solar panel is pretty nice. Now, the next step from this would be like a proper solar power setup in your house, and maybe panels in your roof and a battery bank in some utility room that you have. Of course, that's even better. But for someone that wants to have something like this going on, it is very nice. You're able to run the necessary things that you need to run. Of course, small gadgets, tablets, all of that stuff, even laptops, all of that you run just fine. And you can sustain that with a couple nice solar panels for long term. That's definitely good. In terms of the fridge, my advice would be, if this thing lasts for more time, try to not have things that depend on refrigeration. Try going with foods that are shelf stable, and avoid having to power a fridge at all. The fridge is quite consuming. If you have a freezer though, you can power it for a couple hours, maybe in the morning, maybe in the afternoon, a couple hours here or there, and you will probably keep everything frozen nice. It's something else to keep in mind. Also, combine it with an efficient form of cooking food. That is something like the camping gas stove over there. These are, I think I paid like $9 for that one over there. It is still running just fine. They used to be quite affordable, still are. Again, I'll leave links for all of these things below. But you just run these bottles, you run these bottles of butane gas, which it's super simple. It's just a little bottle of gas. And it's several meals that you can prepare. I was cooking for a family of 5 with this thing, and each one of these bottles lasts for maybe 3-4 times that I'm preparing food. And I, of course, have several of them. But it means that I have ways of cooking that don't depend on electricity, which we usually have these days, a lot of those. Folks, that's basically it. My advice would be buy a couple of these things depending on the needs that you may have. The solar panels definitely have to be an addition so as to kind of run it like a solar generator. The silence is golden. Yeah, I remember walking past my neighbor and thinking, yeah, that thing sounds pretty loud, and there's not a, there's no sound whatsoever from my setup. That's pretty cool. And also when you have smaller ones, if there's anything like a smaller device, you may have dedicated ones, for things that require less power. Folks, just a few things to keep in mind, things to get those gears going in your head and thinking of possible solutions for the situations you may find yourself in one day. See you next time. Have a great day. Take care.